Hello everyone, this is Darksnovia here. This is my review on, which is perhaps one of the darkest Star Wars novels I've read, Shatterpoint, written by Matthew Stover, with a prologue by George Lucas. Now, this is one of the novels that I have been looking forward to for a long time in terms of reading it / reviewing, considering the fact that I loved Matthew Stover's Traitor. If you're familiar with that, it's been ages ago since I reviewed that novel. It was back in 2016 where I reviewed, Traitor, which is the first novel that he'd written in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. One of my favorite novels to this very day. And since I love that novel, my expectations were kind of high for Shatterpoint, considering that Traitor I consider one of the best Star Wars novels ever written. And not to mention, it's just a great story, honestly. Shatterpoint, to me, is really good. It really is. The thing I find interesting is George Lucas, wrote a prologue for it. It isn't much significant, honestly, but a lot of Expanded Universe haters like to say that George Lucas never cared for the EU or was never involved. Well, that's obviously false if anyone did any research on it. I mean, George Lucas did wrote a prologue for it. Now, Shatterpoint itself, what do I think of the story? I said it was really good. Why do I like Shatterpoint? Well, Shatterpoint, in my opinion, is good because not only is this the only story we get to get inside Mace Windu's head and actually, learn about who he is as a person, how much he respects Yoda, and how he feels in the situations around him. I know some people don't like the idea of, first person in books where it's being written from a character's perspective, where they're talking, at least describe what's going on as the story's progressed. I didn't feel it really took me out of the experience at all. Honestly, I felt it was great because it gave us more input on who Mace Windu is, and not to mention learned more about him. Because in the movies, if you go by only the films, Mace Windu is kind of a one-note character and doesn't really have much to him. And a lot of his popularity is because of Samuel Jackson, let's be honest. I feel like this was the novel that gave Mace Windu depth as a character. It actually gave him, more. He feels more like a three-dimensional character after this novel. Honestly, you will not think of Mace Windu the same after you read it. Another thing I find interesting about this novel is Mace Windu's, struggling with, his inner demons, and you actually get to learn about certain, his people, on where he's from, where he was born, and how he copes with that, and how he's trying not to become the thing that he hates, and not to mention he feels guilty over what happened in Geonosis. In the beginning of the book, he feels like he could have ended the Clone Wars before it began if he killed Dooku. And another thing I really love about this book is just how dark and gritty it is. This feels like a war zone, the planet that Mace Windu is on. I mean, the Clone Wars, era of Star Wars, along with the New Jedi Order, it is intense, the stuff that is described in these books. Well, this particular one, it just feels like you're actually there with the characters. The side characters that are introduced in here I think are really good. And towards the end of this book, spoilers, Mace Windu actually learns, that what his mistake on Geonosis wasn't a mistake at all, because the shatterpoint is Anakin Skywalker. Now, what is the shatterpoint? Well, in this book, it's an ability that Mace Windu has where he can see glimpses of the future. And an example is, it's theoretically possible the Clone Wars could have ended before they started had he killed Count Dooku right then and there. But after the Clone Wars started, it made no difference if Dooku dies or not. Anakin Skywalker is the shatterpoint, which, for those of you who, if you're not living under a rock or know your Star Wars lore, knows why that is. Anakin, one way or another, is going to determine the destiny of the entire galaxy for generations to come. And Mace Windu acknowledges that Anakin Skywalker is the most important person alive. Now, this is interesting having this come from Mace Windu, because he was one of the people that were against training Anakin and not trusting towards him. It's interesting to actually read him say that. Now, if I had to be honest, I think Shatterpoint is probably one of my favorite Star Wars novels. Honestly, even though Mace Windu is a character we're already familiar with, but the thing about the expanded universe, it takes characters that you would never care about, and you actually could read one book and it's like, wow, this character is awesome, I want to read more. Sadly, this is the only story featuring Mace Windu, and that's quite a shame because he's such an interesting character. And I really wish that Del Rey gave us more books on Mace Windu rather than give us another story on Darth Maul or even Dark Horse. I wish they would have given us another Mace Windu story than give us another story of Darth Vader. I just feel like that with someone as popular as Mace Windu, I am surprised Dark Horse and Del Rey didn't capitalize on that and have a few more stories. I guess we'll never know. Maybe in an alternate universe there is more stories. Mace Windu isn't the only character I felt like was wasted in the prequel era. But at least, unlike characters like Padme and Count Dooku, at least he has a novel to himself. I give this a classic rating. I consider this one of the best Star Wars novels, in my opinion. And next time, well, I'm going to review what's considered one of the worst Star Wars novels. Is it really that bad? Well, we'll wait and see next time with another video. May the Force be with you, always.